So newly elected Green Party leader Zach Polanski spoke to The Independent and claims that multiple Labour MPs could defect to the Greens.
Would you accept any defections from Labour MPs? Would you welcome them to your party if they're sort of concerned about the current direction of Labour?
Those are probably in double figures, the amount of conversations I've had with Labour MPs. Of talking to Labour MPs about defections, that's a smaller number, but yes, absolutely, I'm having conversations with Labour MPs who are considering defecting. I'm saying the same thing publicly and privately, though, that if they align with our values, then it makes absolutely no sense to be in the Labour Party anymore. And I go a little bit stronger than that too. So let me name some people I really admire, like Clive Lewis, for instance, I would say is a very obvious example, Nadia Whittome. When I talk to Clive, more publicly, I won't talk about private conversations, when I talk to him publicly, he's very honest about his criticism of the Labour government. He's not shy about it. So I really admire Clive Lewis, and none of this is an attack on him because I really admire the fact he's within Labour speaking out. And he would say, as an example, that he worked alongside Green MPs and progressive politicians to prevent the damage being done from the welfare bill. And that is all true. I would also question, though, you could have done that without being in the Labour Party. And actually, by being a Labour MP, I think they're creating a collective shield for Keir Starmer to go, look, I'm not that bad. I can reel off a list of people that you agree with, and they're kind of my collective defence shield.
I mean, it's interesting that he spoke about Clive Lewis for much of that segment. Maybe he's the one considering leaving. Although, having said that, he and other centre-left MPs have started a group called Mainstream, apparently fighting for radical ideas. I mean, to me, it looks like a less radical version of Momentum. So maybe he's sticking with Labour. Now, there have been a series of councillors who have defected from Labour to the Greens over their rightward shift and their complicity in Israel's genocide. But this could be sitting members of Parliament, which is far more significant and will create headlines. Now, a recent poll by YouGov had the Greens on 12%, their highest yet, doubling the vote share of 6% what they got at the last election. Now, it would be interesting to know which MPs Zach has spoken to. Of course, he's going to remain tight-lipped. But there's always, fun in speculation. Now, Stats for Lefties provided breakdown of seats that would likely be won by the Greens, according to that YouGov poll. So on here, we have Bristol East, Huddersfield and Bristol South, which is apparently they would win. But they also provided seats where they would be within 5% of winning. So that's Sheffield Central, 2% short. Brighton Kemp Town, 3% short. Leeds Central, which is my constituency, I'd like to see that go to the Greens, 3% short. Manchester Rusholme, 4% short. And Bristol North East, 5% short. Now, MPs don't typically defect if their chances decrease at retaining a seat. So could some of the MPs speaking to Zach represent those areas? Gemma, what are your thoughts on this? It's not often that you see defections from parties commanding a huge majority, switching to a small party with only 4 seats. Not impossible, like Reform. So do you think we could see potentially a host of defections in the near future?
Yeah, potentially. So Clive Lewis, I find really interesting. So Marina and I had him on our podcast and had a great chat with him. And he is a wonderful guy who is in politics for all the right reasons, really wants to affect change for the greater good. He's a proper old school Labour man. But he was saying to us, and this wasn't that long ago, he doesn't want to leave Labour. He is very much, why should I? Why should I? This is my party that I've been sort of raised with. My dad was a Labour man, my granddad was a Labour man. I don't want to go anywhere. I want to fight for it within the tent. I can be screaming at these people trying to change things, and fair enough. So I don't know whether Zach will win him over or not, and especially now that it looks like he's thinking, well, within it I'll do my own group. But at what point does Starmer look about and absorb some of this? Everybody was, well, a lot of people from the start were saying it's going to be a disaster. Fair. But I think most people were open to hoping that he was going to be the Starmer that, who supported Corbyn, the one that's had all those lovely pledges that he's reneged on. And I just wonder, when he looks at the polls, when he sees that parroting Reform is just not working for him, and the comms team that he's assembled and his action. Oh, sorry, I know I'm changing the subject, but over Palestine, or inaction rather, and then looks at Corbyn, etc., peeling off, this new sort of very refreshing focus on the Greens, which is really, really needed. And then now Clive Lewis starting another thing. Like, hello, when's he going to realise he is not uniting any of the, like, who should be his traditional voter base? I just don't get what's going on in his head. I really don't. I mean, I want to ask, actually, did you expect Labour or Keir Starmer to be this right wing? I think no,
because the signal I got from the election was they didn't really want to change the sort of, I would say, long-term economic system under Margaret Thatcher. They didn't really want to change much. They want to be more sort of professional and manage the economy better. But I have been surprised. As someone who's not usually surprised about things, I've even been surprised. I mean, quoting Enoch Powell, for example. So when it comes to Keir Starmer, you just said you didn't expect it. How shocked were you when he's done certain things? Israel-Palestine is one thing. For me, I didn't really expect him to be really good on Palestine. He is part of the political establishment. But things where I felt like he didn't need to do, I'm pretty shocked. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm pretty horrified by him, actually. I say, hope. I think I'm an eternal optimist. Maybe stupid, naive, deluded, whatever. Chuck it all at me. I thought that. I hope that he was doing what he needed to do to get in power, and that in this country, extreme left or right doesn't tend to get elected. And actually, being completely honest, and you can all hate me for this, I don't have a problem with a prime minister wooing business. I don't, and a Chancellor of the Exchequer. I don't have a problem if people like Sainsbury's or whatever, Tesco, come out and say, yeah, I feel like these people can govern. I feel like that's okay. I want the system to change, of course, long term, but I kind of understand that it perhaps can't happen overnight. I don't want capitalism on steroids anymore, of course, neoliberalism. But for me, that kind of stuff wasn't off-putting. It was like, okay, I think he's going to do this. If anything, it was like, yeah, you've got to win all sorts of people round to get into power. So traditionally, if you look over time, centre left, centre right is kind of what wins it, because you need people who vote that way to go the other way to get the majority. If you follow me, for him to then come in, and I'm going to say something probably a lot of people disagree with. I think like the winter fuel thing, I really wasn't that against, because it was like a benefit. I don't really get it. Like, look after pensioners, sure, but when that's going to millionaires and everything, I thought it was bizarre. It should have been means tested. And I thought they just did very bad comms over it, really bad. But the 2-child benefit cap, not changing that, I was like, what? When that has been proven to keep kids in poverty, I was like, wow. So that for me was, he's going, I smell a liberal. Maybe I'm a bit of a woolly liberal.
Well, I mean,
I'm like a liberal. I'm just looking at the comments. Liberal, lefty. I don't really care. You put labels on me. I've got strong opinions in all sorts of regards, but I'm also a bit of a sort of realist, I suppose. But for me, actually, you say, for me, the biggest travesty is Palestine.
Yeah.
And I could never vote for that man. A human rights lawyer, to see what we have seen is, for me, absolutely barbaric and disgusting. And for the UK to be, entertaining the Israeli Prime Minister, and no.
I mean, when the thing for me, for Keir Starmer, there's so many unforced errors. I mean, as a socialist, I wasn't expecting Keir Starmer to put socialism on the ballot. I don't think he is a socialist himself.
No.
And I understand that in this political landscape, you can't be like, look, vote for our manifesto, we're going to seize the means of production. I understand that. But he made so many unforced errors within the paradigm that he was working in.
Yeah.
In terms of the winter fuel allowance, I mean, policy, agree or disagree, but in terms of political capital, he just angered
absolutely.
so many people.
I know.
His comms team is abysmal. I mean, this is the thing. Remember before the election, he was like, this guy can, start a meeting. He's attention to detail. He's excellent on this. In fact, he's actually pretty bad about politics.
But also,
I think it's terrible.
if he hadn't kept the 2-child benefit cap and then come after disabled people,
Yeah.
you know, for God's sake, and then you add in pensioners as well, like perhaps the outrage wouldn't have been. And I'm going to go back to the pensioners thing because I'm nearly 52, right? I'm not that far off being a pensioner myself, right? In the old days, it used to be 60. I'd be 8 years off it. And there's no way I'll finish working at 60. Like, no freaking way on every level. On not wanting to, on energy, and not being able to, and not having enough pension saved up, right? So I'm looking at working into my 70s and beyond, whatever. So I'm just saying, the thing about the winter fuel allowance that annoyed me was some of the rhetoric was like, our pensioners won the war for us. And it's like, no, babe, they didn't. They actually didn't. You know, they're talking about people that were born after the war had finished. That kind of rhetoric I found quite irritating. But anyway, that's another point. I just thought, if you look at the welfare budget and where it actually goes, and the billions and billions, we've got such a problem with the aging population. So I believe in a wealth tax, and that's where I'm a socialist. I believe that if you are taxing people correctly and proportionately, you know, people with assets over £10 million, for instance, you know, Rishi Sunak not having the same tax rate as a nurse, etc., not taxing work. And again, I'm going to stick up not just for the working classes, but the middle classes as well. The middle classes are absolutely squeezed. I just think, you know, a middle class couple with kids should be able to afford to go on holiday. They should be able to run a car. I feel like that's all right to have those aspirations. And I feel like most people with good middle class jobs, that isn't the case. Let alone the people who are, you know, really struggling. So yeah, for me, that's where I think Rachel Reeves could do so much better.
Yeah, to me, there's no case anymore to not have a wealth tax. Tax wealth, not work, as Gary Stevenson sort of popularised.
Yes.
To talk back, go back to the candidates. I mean, obviously, you said you spoke to Clive Lewis on your podcast.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So it's clear that he's a very Labour man, similar to John McDonnell. They're wedded to Labour, but do you not find when they say that it's a bit frustrating? Like, I understand you feel like you don't want to be driven out the party. You feel like the right wing of the party win. But in terms of utility, though, it feels like you're not getting anywhere. And actually, for me, you know, I left the Labour Party a long time ago. That sticking it to the Labour Party from the outside, taking away votes from them, to me feels even more satisfactory anyway. So obviously, Clive Lewis isn't one of those people who are probably going to defect. Aside from Clive Lewis, though, who would you like to see from the Labour Party to join the Greens?
It'd be funny if it was like 100 of them or something.
It would be, yeah.
Just all of them. Go, 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 go. I mean, I think, I mean, it's like, how much can you stomach? It must be so difficult being elected, you know, that sort of like, whoa, I got in and we're going to be in this amazing company. Because the other thing I think people don't realise is that most of the backbenchers, they don't really have anything to do with the cabinet. You know, they're not really brilliantly communicated with. You know, I'd said to Clive, it was a great juicy chat actually, and he sent a rather worried WhatsApp after to me and Marina going, oh God, it was just like having a cup of tea with a mate. What did I say? What didn't I say? Oh, what am I going to... But it was a lovely chat. But, you know, if you look at things like what's going on with Israel, I'm like, so at what point does the headmaster enter the room and see everybody and you go up and go, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, well, yeah, that does happen. But like not very often. But yeah, it does happen. I'm like, and? He goes, nothing.
Support independent media. Support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you. Turn left.